Hello, my name is Dr. Stephanie Jewett, and I'm the principal at Hardin Middle School. So, this presentation is serving as our virtual Hardin Transition Night. I had chose to change how we did our transition night a few years ago and received some really positive feedback from our families because the springtime, as you know, is chock full of end of year events. Award ceremonies and band concerts and things of that nature, in addition to whatever other activities your children may be participating in. So we found it more beneficial and efficient to do a virtual presentation regarding some things you should know about Hardin, what a day in the life is going to look like for your student, what the first week of school will look like, and just some other important information that you would otherwise have gotten in an in-person meeting. So I will start our presentation. Just a little bit about me. My name, again, is Dr. Stephanie Jewett. I'm the building principal. I have been the building principal here at Hardin for 4 years. So next year I will be starting my 5th year here. Before that, I was an assistant principal in the Pattonville School District at Holman Middle School for 6 years. And prior to that, I was a high school math teacher for 11 years. So I'm going into year 21 or 2 at this point. You start to lose track after a couple of decades. I was originally born and raised in Alaska, graduated from high school there, and got a soccer scholarship to play at the University of Missouri. So I played soccer for Mizzou for 4 years and got my teaching certificate, my teaching degree, and a math degree as well. I have one 13-year-old son. His name is Brandon. He plays all of the sports, so I just feel like my entire life consists of working and just driving my child around everywhere while he keeps one earbud in his ear or both in his ear so he doesn't have to listen to me talk or listen to my awful music because their music is so much better than ours, right? And my husband, Casey, is a business teacher at St. Charles West, and he is also the varsity boys soccer coach. Other people that you will want to know about is Dr. Stemmerman. She is the 7th grade assistant principal for next year, and Mrs. Locker, and I couldn't find a picture for her, will be the 7th grade counselor. They will also loop with your students. So Dr. Stemmerman will be their grade level principal for both years that your student is at Hardin, and Ms. Locker will be their counselor. Officer Hayslip is our school resource officer here at Hardin. He is amazing. He is the best SRO that I've ever worked with, and I've been an administrator for 10 years, going on 11 now. I've worked with a lot of SROs, and he's just fantastic. He truly cares about our students and our families. He takes time to make connections and develop relationships with our students, and he's just a great guy. So if you ever need anything that kind of falls into his realm, don't hesitate to reach out. And just some additional who's who. Mr. Curtin is our 8th grade assistant principal. His partner counselor is Mrs. Benetti, who will be the 8th grade counselor. Mrs. Sontheimer is our registrar. So if you have paperwork that you might need to turn in, bills or leases to solidify residency, that sort of thing. If you want grades, she's your gal. Kalisha Mitchell is my secretary, so she handles a lot of my business for me. Tori Loomis is the assistant principal secretary. So if there is a discipline question that you have, Mrs. Loomis is a good one to call. And Rebecca Wallace is our attendance secretary. So if you have doctor's notes you need to turn in, or you need to let the school know that your student won't be attending one day, she would be the one that you would reach out to. So a typical day at Hardin is going to look a little like this. So our building opens at 7 a.m. and that couple of things there. We are on the high school schedule, so that can be a little bit of a shock to our incoming 7th graders who are used to starting and ending a little bit later. So they will have to get up a little bit earlier to get to school on time for Hardin. But also knowing that our building opens at 7, just be aware that especially in the months where we have inclement weather, whether that's just cold weather or it's pouring down rain, that sort of thing, the building does not open until 7. So if you drop your student off early, they have to wait outside. So please be cognizant of that if your student is a car rider. Once students enter the building at 7 a.m., that's when my teachers are also on duty for supervision. Students will either report to our commons area, which is what you see in front of you here on this picture, or they can go to the cafeteria if they need to eat breakfast, or maybe they brought in a breakfast they need to eat. So students go to one of those two places, they relax for a few minutes, they can be on their phones during that time, they can chat with friends, and then at about 7:12, the administrator in each of those areas will release the students to go to their locker and their first hour class. So school actually starts at 7:20, so students have about 8 minutes to get released from those spaces, use the restroom, get a drink of water, get everything settled and ready for class, stop by their locker, and then start class at 7:20. If your student is a car rider, if you are the driver, or if you could communicate to the driver of your student that when they're dropping off their student to please pull as far forward as possible. We like to be courteous neighbors here on Elm Street. And Elm is a busy road in the morning. Lots of folks trying to get to work, usually dropping their own students off at school. And if we don't have our cars moving all the way, really to almost to the bottom of the hill to make room to get the cars off Elm starts to back up. And then we don't look like such courteous neighbors. So please pull forward if your student is a car rider. So just a couple of notes about classes, passing time, and bathroom passes. So like I said, our school starts at 7:20 and we get out at 2:20. Students will have 8 classes that they attend every single day. 4 of those classes will be their core subject areas: math, science, ELA, and history. The students will have 2 elective classes. And then students will have a split of PE, health, and computer. So the way that will look is they will take PE for one of the semesters, and then health and computers will split the next semester, the other semester. And then students will also have a class 8th hour called academic lab, which I will explain later in this presentation. Passing time is 4 minutes long, and despite what your student may or may not tell you, 4 minutes is plenty of time to get from point A to point B anywhere in this building. Actually, our passing time could really be 3 minutes. As long as students are doing what they're supposed to be doing, it's really not a time for socialization. We tell students that all the time. Passing time, the 4 minutes is plenty of time. And something I didn't mention, in their 4 core subjects, we follow a traditional middle school model here, which means that our students are on a team. So if a student is on, for example, Team 7A, which is one of the names of our teams, all of the students on that team have the same core subject area teachers. So those four teachers all share the same students. Their classrooms are all right next to each other, and the lockers of their students are all right near those classes. So when I say 4 minutes is plenty of time, the core classes they need almost 0 time at all to get from one to the other because they're all right next to each other. All students at Hardin are issued a locker so they can safely store their belongings. Anything that's valuable, they are locked lockers, and unless they give out their combination, those items are safe in their locker. And the only bag that students are allowed to carry during the school day is their school-issued Chromebook carrying case. So let me be more specific. Your student may absolutely bring a backpack with their belongings to school, and that backpack will remain in their locker for the duration of the school day. The only bag that they are allowed to carry around during the school day is their school-issued Chromebook carrying case. That is the black case that would have come to your student with their Chromebook, and they would have gotten it at Jefferson. If they've lost it for some reason and think they might need the carrying case, we do have carrying cases for purchase here. But no student honestly needs a bag of any kind. And that really comes down to safety reasons for our school, and making sure that students don't have items that are not safe for the school setting. We are pretty strict about it being the school issued Chromebook case, because if we don't make it our Chromebook case, then things can just kind of spiral out of control where people are buying some other computer carrying case that's 3 times the size of the Chromebook case. So it does have to be the school issued case. But like I said, there is no reason for bags of any kind that students need to be carrying around, because they can leave everything in their locker and stop by their locker in between classes to pick up the items that they may need. This includes purses, fanny packs, man bags. What else have I seen? Lunch boxes. Kids just like to carry around their lunch boxes. All those things will be stored in their locker. Students will also be issued hall passes. We use a system called e-hall pass here, so it's all computerized. Students receive 28 passes per quarter, which, like I said, is plenty of passes, just like 4 minutes is plenty of passing time. Once students get in the rhythm of Hardin, which we help them acclimate to in those first couple of weeks of being here, they will find that 4 minutes is plenty of time and that 28 passes per quarter is more than enough because they will have time during passing period to use the restroom as well. Lunchtime, everybody's favorite. So we have 3 lunch shifts. We just refer to them as lunch A, B, and C. They're all held during our 5th hour period. Students can purchase a lunch just like they would do at Jefferson or an elementary school, or they can bring their own lunch. We do have microwaves, several different microwaves in our cafeteria for use. If your student Please, if your student isn't familiar with using a microwave, please teach them how to use that before you come in. Or if they can always ask an adult for help if they need help using the microwave. We have snacks for purchase as well, and the seating in the cafeteria is totally open, so students are allowed to sit with their friends. Now, I will say that if we start having issues with behavior during cafeteria and lunch times, sometimes we do assign seating at that point. We try to only use that tactic for students who may be struggling sitting near some peers of their choosing. But occasionally, that is something we use if behaviors have become challenging and multiple warnings aren't working. All right, for our electives and some information about academic labs. So what you see on the screen are the electives that we currently offer: band and jazz band, orchestra, choir, drama, PLTW, which are engineering classes, world cultures, which is a little sampling of French, German, and Spanish, because in 8th grade only, students can take French, German, or Spanish 1. All of those 3 foreign language classes are worth high school credit. FACS stands for Family and Consumer Sciences, and that is the new term for home ec. So back in my day, you would have heard it called home ec. Art, and then reading and math support classes. Academic lab, like I mentioned a little bit earlier, is only held during 8th period. It's held every single day during 8th period. It's a little bit shorter than their other classes. It is primarily used for academic advising. So their teachers, their academic lab teacher, who will also be a team teacher of theirs, will be looking at their grades, checking to see if they have missing assignments, looking to help if they need help on work. They collaborate with their other team teachers. So if a student has their ELA teacher as their academic lab teacher, but they need help from their math teacher, they would be able to go visit their math teacher during that time and receive some help. And we also use it for intervention work. If students are struggling in various areas of their core content, we can work with them on improving those skills. We also use a program called IXL. That is our benchmark testing system, which is different from what they use at Jefferson, but Hardin and the high schools use IXL. Students can also use IXL as an intervention method, where if we find that students might be struggling in a certain standard, say in 7th grade math, there's lots of resources within IXL that will help students fill those gaps. We might use it for silent reading time, and we always use it for PBIS lessons. So PBIS is our positive behavior and intervention systems. Basically, it is what we use to motivate and encourage our students to follow behavior expectations here at Hardin. So just a note about your students' class schedule. So their electives were chosen this past winter. They already have chosen their electives. We try to give students at least one of their elective choices. They were able to jot down several different choices, and we try to at least honor one of them. It is just not possible or feasible to honor all or even 2, because we have, like any other school, we have some elective classes that are much more popular than others. So and we don't have enough sections or seats within those classes to honor every single student's first request. So we try to honor a request. The schedules will be released to you at the end of July or early August. I will send out emails about that. And at that time, it is very important to note that we do not take elective change requests. In fact, we don't take schedule change requests at all. With a building of about 700 students, trying to manage schedule change requests from any one of our 700 families would be logistically impossible. And we have our schedule set and ready to go for our teachers to start planning around. So we do not take elective change requests. Now, if you think your student was misplaced, for example, let's say your student qualified for accelerated math in 7th grade, and you realize that they were placed in regular math, that would be something that we would want you to reach out for if there is truly a mistake in their schedule. And then for dismissal, back to day in the life, our bus riding students will head out to our bus loop. It's one of the side doors, several different side doors on the side of our building. We get our buses out of here pretty quick because we are the first, we're their first route. So after Hardin, they have to pick up a lot of other schools. So we really try to keep our buses on time. Although, again, in those first couple of weeks of school, we do double checks down the hall to make sure that we get everybody out who might not be used to how quickly we dismiss our buses. But we work with students in those first couple of weeks so they understand our expectations and we don't leave without them. Car riding students will head out the front door to the pickup line, and students staying for activities will head straight to that activity. So speaking of activities, we have lots of after-school activities to offer our students. After-school activities are just for an hour on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays only, so they will not be on Mondays and Fridays. And this says 2:30 to 3:30. It's actually 2:20 to 3:20. So our after-school activities do end at 3:20, not 3:30. Unfortunately, we do not have buses that can take our students home. That's one of my major disappointments. I wish we had buses and all the funding in the world to offer our students every after school activity that they could possibly want, because connections to school is so important to learning and academics and just their overall mental health. It's super important for our students to have those connections here. But we don't have buses to get students home, so students must have a ride, or if they're walkers, they're allowed to walk. Students also must be in good standing. What that means is if a student receives ISS or OSS, we have a restorative process to get kids back into what we call good standing at the school, where they may complete a series of tasks that might look like community service. It might look like mediations with other students or teachers. It might look like writing letters of apology. It just depends on what infraction the student had. But they're able to get back into good standing if they do some things. And then they're able to participate in after-school activities. And the only thing students need for after-school activities is parent permission. They are free to our students. On the right, you can see, hopefully we're looking at some of the clubs and activities that we offer. NJHS is an honored jazz band, is really an invite-only type of thing. Honors jazz band are students that are in jazz band that our band director chooses, and NJHS are students that are inducted into NJHS. These are what we have now, but these are all subject to change each year because they are dependent on our sponsors, and our sponsors are our teachers. So if our teachers, want to start another club, they might do that. So these may shift slightly for next year. The first week of school. So we know you might be nervous, and whether it's the parent who is nervous or the student who is nervous, or maybe a little bit of both, about starting a new school, transitioning into middle school, and coming to Hardin. But I can assure you that our staff understands these nerves and the apprehension. A lot of our staff have been at Hardin for a very long time. And so working with our incoming 7th graders from Jefferson is nothing new for us. We understand the anxiety that might come with not only starting a new school, but just starting middle school, the next chapter of their schooling. And we are here to help. So let me say that first and foremost. The second thing that I will say, and I think one of the biggest eye openers of students coming to Hardin, is our expectations are significantly higher. And this is not only behaviorally, it's academically. And that is what I hear most from parents and from students when they transition into Hardin, is it is a significant difference in the expectations and what we expect in terms of behavior for our students and in terms of academics for our students. So in that first week, though, we are dedicated to teaching them what these expectations are. Now, I say the first week. We teach throughout the whole year. We don't ever stop teaching students what our expectations are, but they are covered right out of the gate in that first week, so students at least start hearing what our expectations at Hardin are. We go over the code of conduct and behavior expectations and what consequences for behaviors might look like at Hardin that might be different from Jefferson. We will talk in that first week about what their daily routine looks like: arrival, dismissal, and lunch. We talk about the expectations for if they leave class using a pass, after school activities. The teachers will talk about their specific expectations within the classroom and their grading practices. And we will also do emergency drill practice in those weeks. But that first week. The first week, though, is dedicated to learning how Hardin works, how Hardin runs, and building our community, starting to build our community. Other things you're going to want to know. Like I said, the academic expectations here at Hardin are pretty high, and they tend to be eye-opening for parents who are coming from our fifth, sixth grade building. One thing to note is that our assessments are worth 90% of the student's grade. So assessment is a fancy word in education for tests. So any test or quiz that a student takes is worth 90% of their grade, which means that if a student isn't showing that they have mastered the content, it's going to be worth a significant chunk of their grade. We do have test retakes, and every content has different requirements for what that looks like. They may have to have all their assignments turned in. They may have to have a study guide turned in, that sort of thing. All their other assignments are worth 10% of their grade, and we do use a hybrid grading system. So this will be the first time your students see letter grades. So they will learn what an A, B, C, D, and F mean in a letter grading system, which will also be used at the high school. And there, we will also, though, have standards-based gradings in their report cards. Their assignments will be linked to a standard, just like you would have seen at Jefferson. We will have students will receive grades for their standard, for the various standards within each content as well. IXL kind of talked about this. This is our benchmarking system. This is how we collect data on our kids. It is mostly used for ELA and math, and the benchmarking is only used for ELA and math. But IXL has a lot to offer outside of ELA and math. We have science in there, social studies. So it can be used at home whenever you like. If you want your students to do a little bit more learning on their own, tap into IXL. There's lots of extra resources that students and parents can use at home. But we do use it in all of their core classes in some regard. It's only the benchmark test for ELA and math. Our teachers use Google Classroom to store their assignments, which they share with their parents as well, and do expect homework. Now, there won't be a lot, and it certainly won't be overwhelming, but our students will have homework at Hardin. Power School Parent Portal. Hopefully you all are already on this. If you are not, please make sure to get on this so you are consistently looking at your students' grades and their attendance. And make sure that if there is an opt-out option for getting attendance phone calls or letters, that you do not choose that. I think there's been times where parents have accidentally chosen that, thinking that they don't want all the calls from school, and then they don't realize that their student might have been skipping, and because they're not getting the phone calls anymore. So please make sure you opt in for those types of things. And we do have a lot of fun at Hardin. So we have lots of incentives. We have incentive parties that students qualify for, really with three main requirements: having no D's or F's in their classes, no behavioral referrals, and 90% attendance. We do these quarterly/semesterly, and you can see some of the things we've done in the past. We've had ice cream or pizza parties. We've had field days. We've had field trips to main event and so forth. And then we do other fun things. Students earn positivity notes from their teachers, and we basically have a school store that they can shop at using their positivity notes, and that's been very successful and fun for our students. We have drawings for students who meet our 90% attendance expectation. We have drawings for students that have no referrals. We have students of the month that teams choose. This year we're piloting the Great Tiger Escape, which is going to be on May 14th, and it will be a field trip day where students were able to sign up for a field trip of their choice, and the entire building is leaving to go on field trips. We do have some groups that are staying, and some students chose to stay as well. When your student is in 8th grade, they'll have things like the 8th grade dance and field trip to look forward to. And then this year and in other years, we have fall and spring dances that are very informal and just right after school. So here are some dates you're going to want to jot down for coming up for back to school. Again, one reason that I chose to move this transition night, if you will, to a virtual option or to a virtual setting really is so parents didn't feel obligated to have another one of their evenings where they have to come into the schools and do things, especially families with multiple students, or in my case, I have a son that just does everything. And adding another thing to my plate at night is really difficult in the spring. And the other reason I don't do anything in the spring in terms of actually coming into the building is because we have many options that are going to be happening in July and August, right in that back to school time. So your student and your family can really be focused on actually transitioning to Hardin. It's only April right now, so it's a little early kind of to be thinking about all of that. So starting off, we have Jumpstart Day on August 15th. That will be in the morning of, August 5th. That will be in the morning of August 5th. I will send out lots more information about all of these things come July. So in July, you'll start hearing from me quite a bit more, including information about Jumpstart Day. Jumpstart Day, we invite our students, our incoming seventh grade students, into Hardin without parents. We kind of run them through what a mock day will look like. We split them into groups and they do tours of the building. And then we do a mock lunch where we buy them pizza and we show them how the lunch routine will look as well. And then they're given lots of information about Hardin. So it's a really cool, fun day where students feel a lot more at ease starting on the first day of school when they attend the Jumpstart Day. We will have, I call it an open house with no staff on August 10th and 13th. That will be during the day, running about 8 to 3. Again, there'll be more information on this. What this means is basically Hardin is open for you and your student to come in. You can tour the building, you can get a map. The schedule should be released at that time, but it is completely on your own. The staff is not here during that time. So you can come in and kind of, in a relaxed setting, get to know the building a little bit more. Then we have open house, the evening open house with staff on August 18th. So this is in the evening. This is your traditional open house. So all staff will be here and it's a meet the teacher night, if you will. It's a lot more chaotic in the building on that night because so many families are here. The students and their families are here. So if you wanted to do tours of the building or have like more of a leisurely walk about the building, I would suggest doing that on the 10th and the 13th and leave the 18th just for meeting the teachers. Like I said, more information is going to come out in July regarding all of these activities. Just be on the lookout for emails from me. And we're looking forward to seeing your student. So that is kind of a little intro to Hardin, some of the things you will want to know, need to know. We are so looking forward to meeting another group of incoming seventh graders. If you have any questions at all, please don't hesitate to reach out. You can email me. My email is on the website. If you have grade level questions for your grade level principal, you can email them as well. And we can't wait to see your student in August.